This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Work can be a little weird. Cringy training seminars, coworkers who won't stop talking about their plant, forgetting the mute button at an inopportune moment. We have to deal with a lot on any given workday. Sometimes it can feel hard to thrive and move forward in your career. Well, that's where LinkedIn comes in. LinkedIn helps you get ideas and insights from experts in your field, connect with people professionally, grow your network, and access tools designed to help you find the right fit for your next role. Whether you're just getting started, figuring out your next move, or looking to accelerate your career, LinkedIn is built to support you at every stage because LinkedIn is the network that works for you. Visit linkedin.com/knowstuff to learn more.
Our listeners love puzzles, paradoxes, and hidden patterns almost as much as we do. On TikTok, those fascinations come to life. People are breaking down physics, exploring geology, and explaining why the world works the way it does. You'll see impressive experiments, explanations that finally make sense, and connections you didn't expect. It's like having a lab, a lecture hall, and science museum in your pocket. TikTok is where wonder is shared, where curiosity turns into discovery, and where millions learn something new every day.
Welcome to Stuff You Should Know, a production of iHeartRadio.
Hey, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Josh, and there's Chuck, and this is Stuff You Should Know, the podcast.
That's right. The We Didn't Start the Fire edition. It's funny because that may have been the first time I've heard about the Rosenbergs. Rosenbergs, H-bomb, Sugar Ray, Panmunjom.
What was that last part? I've never known what the heck he was saying.
Panmunjom, one word. Panmunjom, Brando the King and I, and the Catcher in the Rye.
Right, back up. What is Panmunjom?
Well, I don't know, buddy. You'll have to listen to the We Didn't Start the Fire history podcast because I was like, earlier today, I was like, oh man, what a great basis for a history podcast.
No.
Yeah, of course it was a thing.
That's awesome.
But, you know, it's got a shelf life because they, I guess, went through all of them from 2021 to 2023.
So was each lyric its own episode?
I don't know. I mean, that's how I would do it because you can get a lot of mileage out of that song.
For sure. Well, that's really cool. Hats off.
Yeah, I didn't check it out. But yeah, I
didn't check it out.
There's surely they didn't do one each because there's so many references and they only ran for 2 years unless it was a daily show.
Maybe they just got bored after like halfway through. They're
Yeah.
like, forget this.
Anyway, this is that's Billy Joel's worst song probably, and this is a podcast about the Rosenbergs.
Well, what was his best song? And if you don't say Uptown Girl, you're wrong.
Probably Miami 2017.
I don't even know what that is.
I've seen the lights go out on Broadway. That's a great song. But I'm a Billy Joel, I'm a stan. So
are you really?
Oh, yeah. You didn't know that?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah. Glass Houses was the first record I ever bought. Then I've seen him live like a dozen times.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to listen to Billy Joel now, but I suffered many decades of people making fun of me because I would go see a Pavement show and then put on Billy Joel the next day.
Man, people just stink sometimes.
Hey, man, I have a variety of tastes, as do you.
Yeah, for sure. And people should be left alone and not have their tastes made fun of.
Yeah, I'll go to bat for Billy Joel any day of the week, my friend.
I'll tell you who maybe should have been left alone, and that's Ethel Rosenberg.
Yeah. I guess we should give us sort of an overview of this before we dig in.
Yeah, fair enough.
So the Rosenbergs, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, were a married couple. They lived in New York City. We're from New York City. And they were convicted of committing espionage in 1951 and executed and put to death, which was this is a very big deal for a few reasons. One is because a lot of historians basically say, I don't think Ethel did this, and she was probably innocent, even though Julius did. And a lot of people say, and even if he did, and she might have known about it, executing these two people with two young sons when no one else was getting executed for this at the time was a travesty of justice.
Yeah. And as we'll see, they got caught up in Cold War communist hysteria and were basically put into a deadly game of chicken essentially is what it
Yeah.
amounts to. And
Totally.
it's one of those blemishes on the Department of Justice that's never really going to go away, that they did this. We'll see. We'll explain. But it's just a sad story all around. And we want to say Julius Rosenberg definitely was a spy for the Soviet Union, an enthusiastic one whose spy career spanned more than a decade.
Yeah.
Ethel probably was in some way, shape, or form at least abetting it, if not some way minorly supporting it. She may have also played an even bigger role, but I personally do not think that both of them were innocent. Some people say that. Just based on the research I've done, it just seems clear as day that they weren't both innocent. But to put them both to death, they were not the only spies who were caught and convicted during the Cold War. They were the only spies caught and convicted during the Cold War who were executed. And that's what makes the whole thing so significant.
Yeah, for sure. So let's go back and talk a little bit about their early life. We can kind of breeze through this first part. But I mentioned they were both born in New York. Ethel was born there in 1915, had a few brothers, went to Seward Park High School. She was big into theater, and this would come up because she loved to sing and dance. And later on, when she started to get a little political and was going to union events, she would like perform sometimes, I guess, to, just make it a little more fun. Like, hey, we're at the union meeting and now here's a song from Ethel, I guess at the time, Greengrass.
Yeah, the communist blues with a nice little communist tap dance.
Julius was also born in New York. He's a few years younger, born in 1918 to Polish immigrants. And he also went to Seward Park High School, but I don't think they knew each other there. It seemed like they met when he was at City College and she was working as a secretary.
Yeah, and by this time when they met, they had both, their interests in communism had definitely blossomed.
Yeah.
I think Julius is even more than Ethel's by then, but Ethel, I think, had participated in a strike and was fired from her workplace for participating in a strike. And she was like, I think I'm into workers' rights now.
Yeah.
So when they met, it was at a charity benefit for the International Seamen's Union, SEAMEN.
Yeah.
And so they were both like, I'm a communist, you're a communist. Let's get together and make little communist babies.
And do the communist shuffle.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was definitely more into it. He joined a group called the Steinmetz Society, who was an affiliate of the Young Communist League. And he had a couple of friends that are going to come up later in a sort of a small-ish way, but just put pins in the names Morton Sobel and Max Elichter, who were buddies he made while he was sort of in this affiliated with the Young Communist League group society.
Yeah. Yeah, and they had very similar ideas to his. And in 1940, did you say that he trained as an electrical engineer? That's what he studied?
No, but you're right.
Yeah. He was hired as an engineer for the U.S. Army Signal Corps. And when he was hired, he clapped his hands and rubbed them together and said, what can I steal and pass along as secrets to the Soviet Union, essentially?
Yeah, basically. He had one minor brush with the FBI in 1941. He was called into what's called a loyalty meeting, I guess, to sort of sniff people off the case and see how loyal they were to the United States, because they found a couple of mentions of Ethel in the FBI files, one that she had signed a petition for a communist city council candidate, and another that was just someone who gave a tip that accused her of having communist leanings. But he was like, I'm not even into politics that much, which is a lie.
Right.
Let alone communism, which was also a lie. And so they pretty much dropped the case. And in 1942, they moved to the Lower East Side to the Knickerbocker Village and started having those baby communists, like you said.
Is the Knickerbocker Village still around? Is that like a neighborhood in the Lower East Side?
I don't hear it referenced. I mean, I'm sure you could tell where it was, but I don't know if there are any modern references or signage or anything like that. Or I might be wrong, but I've never seen it.
Maybe it's the KBV that all the cool people in New York talk about.
What is that?
Knickerbocker Village?
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, so we've laid the foundation. There's Julius, there's Ethel. Their kids have come along. They're both very loyal communists, especially as we'll see. And Julius is big time into spying, and he became a spy. It's not actually clear how that happened, to tell you the truth. There's many different accounts. One is Julius's account, which is that he never spied and that he was framed by the government.
Yeah.
That's demonstrably untrue. His brother-in-law David's account, which we'll get into more later, but he basically said that Julius would he actually went so far as to go to the Soviet embassy in New York and said, "Hey, can I do some spying for you guys? I'm a big fan."
Yeah.
Like he would basically he wanted to spy. He was putting himself out there. And then there were a couple of others that are probably likelier than either of the other two.
Yeah. One Soviet agent named Alexander Fekselov said he was just introduced to another Soviet agent at a Labor Day rally in Central Park. His name was Semyonov. And then other people said, no, it was another intelligence person. So we don't know how he got into it. But to set the stage of why he might have done this, it was a time in the 1940s when the U.S. and the Soviets were allied against the Nazis. And there are historians that say, Julius didn't think he was betraying the U.S. He thought he was fighting fascism when he sort of started getting into spying for the Soviets. I don't know about that, but that's what some people say.
Yeah, I think that's the most polite way you could put it. Another way to say it is maybe betraying the United States was just an incidental part of it.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
But I saw that one of the things he was well known for, it's he hated fascism so much that he would be seen walking down the street and be like, "I hate you, fascism," and he'd be punching the air.
Yeah.
He hated fascism. So that was one of his big motives for sure.
Yeah.
And in 1942, so he was hired in 1940. I guess he laid a little bit of groundwork for people trusting him. In 1942, he started passing weapons information to the Soviets. And some pretty big ones, too. One of the ones I saw was a proximity fuse. And that is a tiny radio that is used in anti-aircraft guns that basically tells the anti-aircraft gun, okay, that plane is now in range to do maximum damage to it, fire.
Yeah.
That's definitely something you want to have on your anti-aircraft gun. And he passed that along to the Soviets. That was just one example. And he was first handled by Semyonov, who you mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. He got handed off then to Alexander Feklisov, who you also mentioned earlier. And so those two's account of how he got into spying are probably the likeliest because they were his spy masters when he was a spy.
Yeah, agreed. Also during this time, and this is pretty key, he was trying to recruit other people who had the sort of same political leanings as him and recruit them. And one of those people was the aforementioned brother-in-law. So this is David Greenglass, and this is Ethel's brother. So in March 1945, he was fired from the Signal Corps. The FBI said, wait a minute, you've got a Communist Party membership card, and it's got your name on it. And he was like, oh, okay. So I don't work there anymore. I'm going to start my own business with Ethel's brothers, David, who I just mentioned, and Bernie. And it's called Pitt Machine Products, and that did not go well. I guess that it just wasn't a good business. I think David accused Julius of being a bad business person. He accused David of being a bad foreman. Mm-hmm. And by 1948, the company was almost not a company anymore.
No, it was just down to the original investors. I just made scare quotes, who were Julius and Ethel's two brothers, David and Bernie, right? So another big part of this problem, I guess we should say what we're describing now is animosity that kind of grew up between David and Julius specifically. There was just some tension, even though they still remained in one another's lives, highly involved in one another's lives. Some historians point to this specific instance of them going into business together, which is always a bad idea to go into business with family across the board. Okay. Again, we'll go back to my original motto, never trust family.
Never trust family. Man, you've been saying that for years.
Yeah, well, Julius Rosenberg would agree with me. So would Ethel. But so David started to become resentful, and there was animosity throughout this period. And some people point to that as the basis of what came later.
Yeah, for sure. David had borrowed a lot of money from Julius without returning it. So the animosity is building. His wife, David's wife, Ruth, so their sister-in-law, the Rosenberg sister-in-law, She, in February of 1950, was lit a fire when her nightgown brushed up against the heater of her apartment. She had a lot of hospitalization and severe burns and high medical bills, and gave birth to a daughter while she was recovering from this. So all this is just to basically set up, like you said, that David is he's in a pretty bad place in his life at this time.
Yeah, he's going through a rough patch.
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit more about what happened because there's different accounts depending on who you talk to. But what we do know that happened next was that they started to get caught. So the whole thing kicked off in February of 1950 when a guy named Klaus Fuchs, who was a physicist, he was British, he was discovered by MI6 as being a Soviet spy. And he was a big-time Soviet spy. Apparently, the spying he did is estimated to have helped the Soviets skip ahead an entire year in their development of the atomic bomb. Huge, huge damaging spy. And when he was caught, he implicated others, but he didn't know others' names. He only knew their code names. And he mentioned Raymond. Well, the FBI, the U.S. government, had what are now known as the Venona cables. The U.S. had cracked secret cables that were encrypted that the USSR had sent during World War II. And in it talked about a lot of the spies working for them. And by having these Venona cables and knowing people's different code names, they were able to basically root out at least 100 spies using these cables. And Klaus Fuchs was first. And then after Klaus Fuchs was Harry Gold, who was the Raymond that Klaus Fuchs mentioned in his confession.
Yeah, that's right. So he was his U.S. contact, Fuchs's U.S. contact. And then eventually that trickled down, and Gold led them to David Greenglass, the Rosenbergs' brother and brother-in-law.
Yeah. So
on June 15th, 1950, the feds got David Greenglass, and they rounded him up, brought him to HQ to question him. And he was like, I'm not into espionage at all. Like, deny, deny, which is, I guess, the sensible thing to do. Mm-hmm. But then they said, no, this guy, Harry Gold, identified a photo of you. And he went, okay, you got me. I am committing espionage. He was arrested. And he said, I passed on this atomic information, and we'll get to how he knew this stuff in a minute. I passed it on to Harry Gold in June 1945. I was initially recruited to do this by my wife, Ruth, and Ruth was recruited by my no-good brother-in-law, Julius.
Right.
Key to all this is that he never mentioned Ethel being involved at first.
Yeah, that's a big one right there. Just put that in your pipe and stick it in your hat, right?
Yeah.
Should we take a break now and talk about what came next?
Yeah, that's a good cliffhanger.
Okay. We'll be right back.
Hey, everybody, here's a fact for you. In the United States, there is a break-in every 26 seconds, and that means that somewhere right now, an intruder is getting closer. And the problem with most security systems is that they only alert you after the break-in has started, and that's too late.
Well, that's what makes SimpliSafe different. They use alerts. SimpliSafe's U.S.-based live agents, they identify threats on your property and help deter them before they actually break in. So the intruder never gets into your house. The crime is stopped before it even starts.
That's right. And another great thing about SimpliSafe is they have no long-term contracts. They give you peace of mind and great value with their monitoring deterrence plans because they just start at about $1 a day.
Yeah, SimpliSafe sent us a setup years back, and I still use mine every day.
Yeah, and apparently setup, you can do it by yourself in under 30 minutes, so it's a really good value and it doesn't take long.
So if you want to experience the SimpliSafe peace of mind, you can take advantage of the SimpliSafe discount offered to Stuff You Should Know listeners. Right now, you can get 50% off your new system by visiting simplisafe.com/stuff. That's half off at simplisafe.com/stuff. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Work can be a little weird. One minute you're in a meeting that could have been an email. The next you're trying to decode corporate jargon that somehow means nothing. And don't even get us started on the quick sync that turns into a 45-minute deep dive.
Yeah, well, the truth is figuring out your career isn't always straightforward. Whether you're trying to grow, pivot, or just stay relevant, it can feel like you're navigating it all on your own. Well, that's where LinkedIn comes in.
That's right. LinkedIn can help you grow your career, helping you confidently navigate your path with insights, ideas, and inspiration from your professional community. You can stay up to date with the latest trends in your field, connect with people who get it, and discover opportunities tailored to your goals, your experience, and what actually matters to you.
Whether you're looking for something new or just trying to grow where you are, LinkedIn gives you the tools and connections to move forward with confidence. Because LinkedIn is the network that works for you. Visit linkedin.com/knowstuff to learn more. Hey everybody, we're here to talk to you about Wayfair, who believes that spaces should be functional, they should be comfortable, they should be well-designed, and they can be well-designed by you with their help.
Your updated space should feel more comfortable, inviting, and practical for everyday use. And we're talking about outdoor seating. We're talking about grills. We're talking about major appliances. If you need storage solutions, Wayfair can help you out. Patio lighting, rugs, decor. It is your one-stop shop for home.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting nice out, so it's time to think about living outdoors for the next few months. And Wayfair knows that outdoor furniture, it's heavy, it's intimidating to assemble. So Wayfair has stepped in and said, we're going to handle the hard part so you don't have to.
That's right. You can shop Wayfair Verified, your shortcut to the good stuff. And that means their team of product specialists are going to vet everything by hand using a 10-point inspection, testing things like, quality materials, functionality, and features, and even how long it takes to build that piece of furniture. And the overall experience save time, reduce hassle, and improved convenience.
Patio season is here, and these deals won't last. So head to wayfair.com right now to get your outdoor space ready for way less. That's WAYFAIR.com.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
So the feds have David Greenglass now, who is 1 degree removed from the Rosenbergs, and he's already implicated Julius, but not Ethel. So the FBI goes to start talking to Julius. They questioned him in June of 1950. And I guess basically the day after they started talking to David Greenglass's brother-in-law.
Yeah, they moved pretty quick.
Yeah, and they didn't have enough on Julius to bust him yet. They knew enough because, again, remember, they had the Venona cables, and all of these people are mentioned in the Venona cables. They had basically figured out who is who, but the Venona cables were so sensitive and so highly classified, the FBI, the Department of Justice, could not use them in court.
Oh, yeah.
So they could only use them as a background information, and then they had to extract these confessions and piece together like as if those things didn't exist. So they knew everything, but they had to basically get David Greenglass and then later his wife Ruth to talk.
Yeah, which they did over the course of a month or so. They started talking to Ruth, kept talking to David, and about, 1 month later, July 17th, they said, all right, we got enough. We're going to arrest Julius. And then a little less than a month later, on August 11th, after Ethel participated in the grand jury hearing for her husband, she was also arrested. And they were both charged with conspiracy to commit espionage, and that was under the Espionage Act of 1917.
Yeah. Yeah. For some reason, going and being just a part of a grand jury trial and then getting arrested right after, I can't compare it to anything, but it just seems almost mean. Like there should be a break in between. Like you think you're going in and you're going to be fine, and then bam, you get arrested as you're walking out. It's just mean.
That's like when they invited everyone to the football game, the criminals.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Operation, what was that? Was it mincemeat?
No, that wasn't.
Maybe,
that was the one where they created the corpse that they threw overboard in World War II to fool the Nazis.
Yeah, that inspired a Broadway show. But I think maybe a Broadway show should be inspired by the Redskins football game.
I agree, and I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, or at least a Simpsons episode.
I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. No, it did. Remember, we talked about it where they had the free boat giveaway.
That's why I said wink, wink.
Oh, gotcha. I didn't know you were winking at me.
You're like, I thought you were just flirting.
Right.
All right, so we should tell the story, and this is the official story according to the Department of Justice on how this all went down. So we're just going to kind of tell it that way to begin with.
Yeah.
I mentioned David Greenglass had atomic secrets, and how he got those was he was in the Army in 1943, and he was transferred to Los Alamos in August of 1944 and was around the work of the Manhattan Project all of a sudden.
Yeah, he was rubbing elbows with Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
So that was August of 1944 when he started working on the atomic bomb project. A few months later, Ruth came to visit David. And
His wife.
Yes, his wife, Ruth. So by this time, when she came to visit her husband in Albuquerque, she had actually been recruited as a spy by at least Julius Rosenberg. Mm-hmm. And she essentially went to Albuquerque to convince her husband to become a spy. All of these, like both couples were very much into the Soviet Union, very much into communism. So they have very similar views. This wasn't like, didn't take a lot of persuading from what I understand. And she basically said, hey, Julius figured out, probably his Soviet handlers told him, that you're working on the atomic bomb project. So he wants you to tell me everything you know about it, and then I'm going to take it back to him. Then he's going to pass it on to the USSR and our glorious leader, Joseph Stalin.
That's right. January of 1945, David went back to New York on furlough. And just a couple of days after he got back, Julius came around, knocked on the door of his apartment, and he said, hey, what else you got for me on this atomic bomb? He said, write it all down. Anything you can think of that's useful, I'll pick it up tomorrow. His wife, David's wife, Ruth, was like, his handwriting is terrible. You're not going to be able to read this. And Julius said, according to the DOJ, said, not a problem. Ethel, did I mention she was a secretary? She can type like the wind. She'll type everything up so it's nice and neat and orderly, and we'll all be a working family together in this espionage project.
All attention will dissolve after we start spying together.
Yeah.
In that same furlough visit in January 1945, David and Ruth have dinner with the Rosenbergs, and they're actually introduced to a Soviet operative named Anne Sidorovich. And a really interesting plan is hatched here that ultimately leads to the downfall of David Greenglass. Julius says, hey, Anne is going to be your contact now. She's going to come visit you in Albuquerque. By the way, Ruth, why don't you move to Albuquerque to be with your husband, and you guys can spy more effectively together.
Yeah.
But when Anne comes to visit, you just give her all the information, and she will give it to me. We should say there were people like Anne, like Harry Gold. Their entire job was to act as couriers. And the reason why is because the Soviets rightly assumed that the feds were following all of their operatives in the United States, so they couldn't possibly use an operative to connect two spies. They had to use a third spy to work as a courier. That's what Anne was doing. But somebody said, what if Anne is indisposed? What if she, gets a stomach bug and is just pooping everywhere? Or what if she falls in love and runs off and gets married and forgets all about the USSR? And Julius said, I've got a great idea, a plan B, if you will. And that is where the phrase plan B was coined.
Are you messing with me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so one small detail here is that Anne was in Denver, so Ruth would get the information from David in Albuquerque, then visit Anne in Denver to pass this along.
Right.
And if Anne had that stomach bug, this was the brilliant plan that Julius came up with. He said, hand me that Jell-O box over there.
Raspberry.
And they were like, we've already had dessert. Why do you want this Jell-O box? He ripped the Jell-O box open and took one of the cardboard pieces, and he ripped that in half, handed Ruth one, and said, I'm going to give this other half to someone with a secret identity that you don't know yet. That's our plan B person. So if you show up to Denver, Anne is not there, and somebody shows up with this Jell-O box half that I'm holding and showing you, remember, it's going to match. You can put it together like a locket.
Yeah.
That will be the confirmation of their identity, which is so lo-fi, it's actually kind of brilliant.
It is brilliant. And I think that Jell-O box, those two pieces are in a spy museum somewhere.
They got it.
And rightfully so. But it actually came into play because Anne did get indisposed in some way that I hadn't figured out. And Harry Gold, who, again, one of his only job was as serving as a courier, he showed up in New Mexico on David and Ruth's doorstep and said, hey, Julius sent me. I'm a spy. And they said, you got the password, you got the code, you got the, I don't know, what would you call an object that serves as a password? Passkey?
They probably said, do you have the ripped piece of Jell-O box?
Right. Or they said, I am the keymaster. Are you the gatekeeper?
Gozer, sure.
So he said, yes, I am the keymaster. Check this out. And he produced the half of the Jell-O box. And Ruth,
What a moment.
Yeah, Ruth, or I think it was one of the other, Ruth or David, produced the other half, and they put it together. And they said, let's wrap, brother.
So he's now the guy. David writes up as much as he knows at that point, the extra stuff about the bomb that he, since the last meeting. And also, like, here's some other people that, they're always trying to recruit people within Los Alamos and elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And Gold said, great, thanks a lot. Here's $500, which is interesting because they weren't doing it for money, right? Was this just a bit of a bonus for being a good soldier?
I think so. I don't know.
Not chump change back then, nor now.
No, I mean, they were definitely true believers in communism and fighting fascism. So maybe it was just a lagniappe.
All right. So they gave him $500. September of 1945, he went back to New York. David did, on another furlough. And here he provided information right to Julius's face. Said, here's some more notes. I even drew a sketch of the atomic bomb. Julius is like, this isn't very good. And he said, no, trust me, it looks basically like that. And he claims that Ethel typed up the notes, and then Julius burned those notes in a frying pan, gave David $200 for his troubles. And that's where we find ourselves.
Yeah, when I saw that frying pan detail, I was like, God, how long did they have to heat those up to get them to catch fire? And then I realized they were using the frying pan as like basically a fireplace. Yeah. I got it now, but it took me a couple of days.
That'd be very funny in the movie, though. It's just like, just another 45 minutes. What's the flash point for Jell-O boxes?
Right. So are we at another stopping point?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. We're going to stop, everybody, as we just hashed out.
Hey, everybody, here's a fact for you. In the United States, there is a break-in every 26 seconds, and that means that somewhere right now, an intruder is getting closer. And the problem with most security systems is that they only alert you after the break-in has started, and that's too late.
Well, that's what makes SimpliSafe different. They use alerts. SimpliSafe's U.S.-based live agents, they identify threats on your property and help deter them before they actually break in. So the intruder never gets into your house. The crime is stopped before it even starts.
That's right. And another great thing about SimpliSafe is they have no long-term contracts. They give you peace of mind and great value with their monitoring deterrence plans because they just start at about $1 a day.
Yeah, SimpliSafe sent us a setup years back, and I still use mine every day.
Yeah, and apparently setup, you can do it by yourself in under 30 minutes, so it's a really good value and it doesn't take long.
So if you want to experience the SimpliSafe peace of mind, you can take advantage of the SimpliSafe discount offered to Stuff You Should Know listeners. Right now, you can get 50% off your new system by visiting simplisafe.com/stuff. That's half off at simplisafe.com/stuff. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Work can be a little weird. One minute you're in a meeting that could have been an email. The next you're trying to decode corporate jargon that somehow means nothing. And don't even get us started on the quick sync that turns into a 45-minute deep dive.
Yeah, well, the truth is figuring out your career isn't always straightforward. Whether you're trying to grow, pivot, or just stay relevant, it can feel like you're navigating it all on your own. Well, that's where LinkedIn comes in.
That's right. LinkedIn can help you grow your career, helping you confidently navigate your path with insights, ideas, and inspiration from your professional community. You can stay up to date with the latest trends in your field, connect with people who get it, and discover opportunities tailored to your goals, your experience, and what actually matters to you.
Whether you're looking for something new or just trying to grow where you are, LinkedIn gives you the tools and connections to move forward with confidence. Because LinkedIn is the network that works for you. Visit linkedin.com/knowstuff to learn more.
On eBay, every find has a story. Like if you're looking for a vintage band tee, not just a tee, the band tee from the last show your favorite band ever played. You wore it everywhere. Then your girlfriend started wearing it, which was cute until she dumped you and took it with her, which was not so cute.
Yeah, well, anyway, now you're on eBay. And there it is. Same tee from the same tour, still living in your memory, rent-free forever.
See, the things you love have a way of finding their way back to you. But eBay isn't just for getting whatever your ex-boyfriend or girlfriend stole back, right?
No, it's also for that rare championship foul ball you caught, then heroically gave to the kid next to you. And where else are you going to find your first car? The one you wish you'd never sold. But now, finally get the chance to take it back home. For good this time.
So shop eBay for millions of finds, each with a story. eBay. Things people love. All right, we're back to the contemporaneous present when everyone had been arrested, basically. Right out of the gate, David and Ruth, the husband and wife team, the Green Glasses, hired an attorney named John Rogue or Rog or Raji. I don't know how you pronounce that, Rogge.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had a pretty good attorney. And he said, hey, here's what you got to do. Let me ask you this question first. How much do you like your sister and her husband?
Mm-hmm.
He said, because what we should really do if you want to get out of this is we should blame the Rosenbergs. And if you can make a case against them, then they're probably going to let you off pretty light. And he was right on the money with that line of thinking.
Yeah. And the Green Glasses said, sure, why not? I have a pet theory that if David and Ethel had been closer in age, she was 7 years older than him.
Oh.
He may not have betrayed her quite as easily, but 7 years is a pretty decent amount of distance between you and an older sister. And I think that makes the betrayal all the easier.
My sister's 6 years older, and I would totally sell her out.
There you go. So my pet theory is correct.
That's right. This led to basically a different account. Some people may say it was an account that shifted. Other people might say, no, David just basically lied about Ethel's involvement.
Yeah.
And you might be wondering, like, well, what's the rumpus here? Like, they had Julius dead to rights. Like, why did they need to get Ethel involved? This is because they were living in a time of the J. Edgar Hoover FBI and prosecutors like Roy Cohn, who basically were like, hey, if you want to get Julius, you got to get his wife involved and use her as leverage, basically.
Yeah. And the other thing, too, is even though they had Julius dead to rights, he was not cooperating in any way, shape, or form. He maintained his innocence until the very end. And they wanted more spies. They wanted to flip him and get more and more and more people.
Yeah.
So they used Ethel, like you said, as leverage, and they ended up picking her up based on the Green Glasses testimony. Remember, when David Greenglass's first question, he does not mention Ethel. He mentions Ruth, his own wife. He mentions his brother-in-law, Julius. He does not say Ethel was part of the spy ring. Now, all of a sudden, he is saying she definitely was. And then even more damning, before the Department of Justice came and said, like, hey, why don't you just a touch of perjury to help our case out? He gave the grand jury testimony, the same grand jury that Ethel was arrested right after, rather unfairly. And he said point blank, Ethel was not involved in this.
Yeah. And we know all this is true because in 2001, David Greenglass said, yeah, I lied about my sister because I wanted to save my own wife.
Yeah, he lied during the trial. He perjured himself. He admitted it. So not only did he perjure himself, he perjured himself to implicate his sister, which a lot of people think she was basically innocent, if not fully innocent. So that's a really hard thing to swallow, but we're still not done with the DOJ and what they did here.
Yeah, for sure. Julius and Ethel were tried together along with Julius's college classmate that I mentioned at the beginning that I said to put a pin in, Morton Sobel. You can take that pin out now. So the three of them were being tried, and if David and Ruth hired an attorney that had a pretty great idea to blame it on the Rosenbergs, they did not hire well because they hired Emmanuel Manny Block, and I think that was Julius's attorney. They had separate attorneys, and Ethel's was his father, Alexander, and neither one of these people were criminal attorneys at all.
No, Alexander specialized in facilitating the sale of bakeries. I don't get it. I don't understand why they hired them. I didn't see.
I don't know. There had to be some connection. I doubt if they just yellow paged that,
Yeah, maybe they were trying to help their careers. I don't know. But it was...
Somebody probably knows. I bet someone will let us know.
Yeah. So the prosecution had a bunch of federal prosecutors led by Irving Sapol, who Time called the nation's #1 legal hunter of top communists. Not who you want prosecuting you if you are a spy for the Soviets. Yeah. And then the judge was also not the judge you wanted to draw. His name was Irving Kaufman, and he was known for hating communists. And he used his bench to essentially punish them as harshly as he possibly could. He was the kind of judge who would actually add 10 years onto whatever sentence the DOJ was asking for in trials of communist spies. He was that kind of judge, and that's who they drew.
It'd be funny as if who let us know about the connection to those attorneys was Billy Joel. What if he sent us an email, said, I know this, guys, and attached you'll find an additional verse that I cooked up for you.
Oh, my God.
To We Didn't Start the Fire, where I explain about the bakery guy.
Yeah, and he'd be like, P.S., what's this with my worst song crap, Chuck?
Right? Oh, man. I can't believe I said that out loud. We might have to edit that out.
We should just...
What I meant to say was there is no bad Billy Joel song.
That was perfect. There you go. We'll just clip that out and put it over what you said originally.
No, I'm going to leave it in. I'm going to stand by it. Hey, listen, it was a big hit. Billy, if you're listening, I love almost everything you ever did, but you can't win them all.
That's a great lesson to learn, Billy Joel.
It really is. Okay, so one thing we should point out, getting back on track here, about this trial and the prosecution, which hated communists, the jury of 12 had one black man, one white woman, and no Jewish members on the jury. The other were 10 white Christian men who all were in favor of the death penalty.
Yeah, which, in their defense, like, you can't be on a capital jury if you aren't in favor of the death penalty. But still, it was not the kind of position that you would want to find yourself in. Like, this is
I never thought about that. I guess that's true, huh?
Yeah, I think we talked about it in the jury episode. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
That's where I got it from, which means it could be wrong. But, yeah.
Well, if you were against the death penalty, you just gum up the works. They don't want you in there.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're in a pickle, I guess is what you want to call it. And they're still like, this is all wrong. We're maintaining our innocence. And the prosecution said, oh, yeah, we'll sit there while we trot out a bunch of witnesses against you guys. They brought Max Illichter, who was a classmate with Morton Sobel and Julius, remember?
Yeah.
Ruth's brother-in-law, Louis Abel. And I guess that was I guess she had a sister. I didn't see that anywhere. George Bernhardt, who was Julius's doctor. Harry Gold, the courier for the Soviets. And Elizabeth Bentley, who was also a former spy. And each one had quite a story to tell.
Yeah, and if you're wondering, like, why did they get Julius's doctor in there? It's because he testified that Julius had inquired about going to Mexico and, like, what inoculations do I need to get if I go to Mexico, like, very suddenly. And the prosecution was like, hey, and I just made up the very suddenly part, but the prosecution basically took it that way and was like, hey, this is evidence. He was gonna flee. He was gonna go to Mexico. Get that doctor in here.
Right. So let's see. Elizabeth Bentley, the former spy, she said, I saw him, or somebody who looked like him, once talking to Jacob Golos, who was a known Soviet operative and the head of the Communist Party of the USA, in Knickerbocker Village, the KBV, no less, in 1942. It's a little thin. Some of the other ones were a little more damning, too.
Yeah. By the way, I know I sounded very dumb earlier when you said KBV right after Knickerbocker Village, and I didn't pick up on that.
Mm-hmm.
In my defense, I thought it would have been KV because Knickerbocker is one word. That's what confused me.
Yes, but people like to, like...
No, I agree. I'm
like
just
3.
letting everyone know. I'm not a 100% moron. I'm just 50% moron.
No one thinks you're a moron. Or even 50% of a moron.
You should read the internet.
There's plenty of people who don't like me either.
Oh, no.
You can't take that personally.
There are people that hate us. No, I don't. I don't read that stuff.
Good. Again, they can soak their heads.
That's right. Kick sand, touch grass, all those things.
So like I said, touch grass.
You haven't heard that?
No. Is that like they've been knocked down?
No, I think touch grass is a more modern thing. Like when people are just social media fighting, someone will say touch grass, like, get off the computer, go outside.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay.
I think that's what that means.
Weirdly, I came across it for the first time within the last couple of weeks, and I promptly forgot it.
Yeah. Well, you know what they should say? Smoke grass.
Right.
Quit internet fighting. Go smoke some weed.
Yeah. So what about Max Ellichter?
Who was that? Oh, he was the former roommate, I think. And he came out in testimony against him too, right?
Yeah, he said Julius tried to recruit me as a spy.
Yeah, that's right.
Not good. Louis Abel, Ruth's brother-in-law, said, hey, I got some money from Ruth and David. And if you know David, that is weird. So I asked him where they got it. And he said Julius gave it to them. And I suspect for spying. And Manny Block stood up and said, objection. And the judge said, overruled, you commie? You commie lover?
Yeah, his dad's over there rolling some biscuits out.
Right. Oh, I'm glad you said that because I have to get this out there. I don't know where it came from, but it will not leave my head.
Oh,
that
no.
Sir Mix-a-Lot Buttermilk Biscuit song. It's just
I don't know that song.
Parts of it are you don't?
No, and I love Sir Mix-a-Lot. I don't know the
It's
song.
a weird like novelty song that he had like very early on, surely from
not
his
like
first
the rest
album.
of his serious work.
Exactly. It's even more novel than his later stuff.
Yeah. Oh, man. Seattle's own. What a legend.
I didn't know he's from Seattle.
Yeah. Because when they did do you remember the Judgment Night movie and that amazing soundtrack?
I remember the
Judgment-
movie.
Well, the movie wasn't great, but the soundtrack was great because they paired rock bands with the hip hop artists because that was a big thing
Oh,
at the time.
yeah.
And Sir Mix-a-Lot and Mudhoney were paired because they were Seattleites, and their song was awesome.
Nice. Remember Body Count with Ice-T?
Oh, yeah.
They
I
were
saw
good.
them at the first Lollapalooza.
Nice.
That was when Ice-T was still making music and wasn't like he's on that cop show forever now, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is a rapper who had a song called Cop Killer.
Yeah.
And he plays a cop. And apparently he's gone
never thought
through
about
some
that.
like metamorphosis in the eyes of police
Cops?
and people who support police,
I bet.
from hating him to being like, hey, he's actually kind of a good guy because he plays a cop on TV so well. It's really
Yeah.
interesting.
No, I remember at the time, boy, he was persona non grata for law enforcement.
For sure. And Ice-T didn't care. He's like, just watch. I'll be back in the most surprising way you can possibly imagine.
They went as literal Ice-T?
He's like, well, not that surprising.
Right. The second most surprising thing. You mean you play a cop on a TV show?
He
That's it.
said, yep, bingo. That's what he was
All
known
right.
to say, bingo.
Oh, man. We're getting really sidetracked. This is a fun one. Who knew the Rosenbergs were going to bring this out?
I did not know.
So it was a 3-week trial in all. Like you said, they, till the end, said they were not guilty. The trial concluded in March of 1951. Guilty, all 3 defendants. Sentenced the third guy, Morton Sobel, to 30 years in prison. Sentenced the Rosenbergs to death, saying their crime was worse than murder and that their work caused the communist aggression in Korea. So they were really taking the fall for a lot here. There were a lot of appeals that were launched by Manny Block and company. Petitioning the Supreme Court delayed things by a couple of years. All of those failed. But he did launch a pretty successful media campaign that got a lot of people very interested in the Rosenbergs' sentence.
Yeah, he finally got a newspaper to agree to look into the case. It was the National Guardian, a very left-wing paper, and they investigated it and produced a very sympathetic, what I take to be long-form article on the Rosenbergs case. And that article created a bunch of other press, which spread further and further, really drummed up public sympathy to the point where they were holding vigils where 1,000 people would show up in cities around the world in support of them. And people thought like, this is not right. Pablo Picasso, Albert Einstein, the Pope, they all said like, these people should not be executed. Certainly not Ethel should be executed. And the judge was like, I can't hear you. He had his fingers in his ears like, la, la, la.
Yeah, and there are historians that say like this all just sort of organically came about because of this press. The DOJ, of course, was like, no. The Communist Party of the United States and the Communist Party overall launched a propaganda campaign on behalf of the Rosenbergs. So, it's a bit of a he said, she said, or they said in this case.
Right.
But here's the deal on the execution. You said it was a game of chicken early on, and I'm sure people that noticed that mention were like, what is Josh talking about, a game of chicken? And this is what you were talking about, was the idea was even Herbert Hoover did not want to execute them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all a ploy to try, up until the last moment even, there were supposedly people on the walk to the electric chair that were like, still want to change your mind? Because you don't have to die right now if you want to give up some names.
Yeah. Yeah, so the execution was essentially leverage, just like they used Ethel. They railroaded Ethel into a conviction to use as leverage against Julius to get him to flip on other spies. They used the death sentence in the exact same way. And they expected one or both of them to be like, okay, that's fine. We got 2 young kids at home. Let's all just cool off. We'll give you some names and some information. And Ethel Rosenberg and Julius Rosenberg did not do that. And in fact, there was the head, I think he was a deputy attorney general at the time, who said Ethel Rosenberg called our bluff. So rather than one party, the DOJ or the Rosenbergs, veering off at the last second, they crashed head on, and Ethel Rosenberg and Julius Rosenberg were put to death, even though essentially no one thought that was the right thing to do. And that's how they went down.
Yeah. And I mean, didn't you find too that Hoover even himself got in touch with the judge and was like, hey, listen, we don't want you to install the death penalty here. And the judge had his fingers in his ears.
Yeah. The FBI took an official stance that that Ethel in particular should not be executed. That was the official stance of the FBI. And it still happened anyway.
It wasn't a good look. I mean, they were worried about the optics for sure of, especially because they were Jewish and, coming off the heels of World War II. And they were like, they've got 2 young kids. You cannot execute this woman. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And even more so, Manny Block, remember, he was like an appeal machine. He had one last Hail Mary appeal.
That was on the billboard on the highway.
Yeah, exactly. With somebody holding a check for $1 million that he got for them for their bakery. Uh-huh. So he filed one last appeal, and he basically said, dude, you're going to execute 2 Jewish people at the beginning of the Sabbath. Do you know how bad that's going to upset the Jewish community worldwide? And Judge Kaufman, who was Jewish himself, said, I hadn't really thought of that. And Manny Block's like, great. So let's postpone this indefinitely. And Judge Kaufman said, no. We're just going to move it 3 hours earlier before the Sabbath starts.
Yeah. They were put to death at 8 p.m. Man, that judge was a real SOB. Mm. They held a funeral in Brooklyn on June 21st, 1953, where 10,000 people reportedly attended. They were buried, finally accepted after some closer cemetery said no, at the Wellwood Jewish Cemetery in Long Island. Mm-hmm. And the boys, it's just still hard to believe they didn't, that one of them didn't, for the sake of being a parent to their kids, didn't recant, but they didn't. Yeah. And those boys, Robert and Michael, were adopted by Anne and Abel Mirapol. Little interesting side note here. Abel wrote the song Strange Fruit.
Which, have you ever heard the Susie and the Banshees version of that?
Ooh, no, but
so
that's great.
Yeah, it's really good. That's how I first heard that song.
Another reference to the first Lollapalooza, even. Who knew?
Wow. That's really something.
Wow. I know, right? Did not expect that.
No.
Billy Joel is spinning in his piano stool right now.
He's like, I know I should have accepted that offer.
I know. Michael got a PhD in economics, and Robert Rosenberg became an attorney.
And both of them, they've dedicated their lives to trying to clear their parents' names. Finally, after years and years and years, they admitted, like, okay, Dad was a spy, but not Mom.
Yeah.
And you said that they were criticized by some people for basically choosing loyalty to Joseph Stalin over their 2 children and leaving them behind. And David Greenglass, again, who lied and got his sister and brother-in-law killed, said they were stupid. He said that was a really stupid thing for them to do, to not accept some sort of bargain to take the death penalty off the table. That's his opinion on the whole thing.
Wow.
That's what I said too.
Yeah.
I should say real quick, the reason that the sons, finally were like, okay, Dad was a spy, was because those Venona cables we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
They were finally released starting in the 90s, and it showed quite clearly that Julius was a very enthusiastic spy for the Soviet Union, and probably Ethel definitely knew about it, but she may have been involved in recruiting Ruth. And if she did that, she was definitely a spy. But again, that doesn't change most people's thoughts that they probably should not have been executed.
Yeah, totally. Because, I mean, that's a whole different argument, you know. It's like maybe they were guilty, but you should not have put them to death. That's what a lot of people seem to think.
Yeah, I mean, including people from their own spy ring didn't even come close to the death sentence. It was just specifically leverage that just never got taken away because the government wasn't about to be like, oh, okay, you got us. All right, we won't kill you.
Yeah. I can't do that.
It's just crazy.
This was a fun one, and there was a lot of jokes. I hope it didn't come across as insensitive. I mean, that's kind of what we do here. So not be insensitive, but just
I'm glad you
try to,
that.
Kind of make jokes about stuff.
Yeah, if you can't laugh about everything, then what can you laugh at?
Nothing.
Exactly. Actually, I don't know if that's exactly true, but still. Since Chuck said exactly.
That's not to examine that one.
Exactly. It's listener mail time.
That's right. This is about, we heard from a lot of our Canadian friends. We love it when Canada points out something that they know that we don't. And in this case, it's about Coles Notes. Great episode about the Cliffs Notes guys. The name rings a bell to me, probably through American movies and TV. But as a millennial Canadian, I'm far more familiar with Coles Notes. Cole was a legendary bookstore across Canada, and so every location had a stand of Coles Notes booklets focused on books and plays covered in the Canadian school curriculum. I even remember reading them in school alongside Shakespeare plays to understand them better. Yes, they were often used to cram before a test without reading the material. They were also used as Cole intended. Chapters/Indigo is the big Canadian book retailer now, and they bought out the Coles locations, but they still print and sell Coles Notes today. So that guy did all right in the Canadian market. Thanks for making me a little smarter each week. And that is from Natalie Guttormson, great name, from Alberta, Canada.
Thanks a lot, Natalie. Thanks for making us a little smarter this week. We appreciate it big time.
Yeah.
And if you want to be like Natalie and tell us something we didn't know, we love that kind of thing. You can send it off to stuffpodcast@iheartradio.com.
Stuff You Should Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.
Service opens doors, and at American Military University, it can open doors for the whole family. If you have a loved one who served in the military, you may qualify for reduced tuition. AMU offers flexible online programs designed to fit your schedule, so you can keep moving forward wherever life takes you. Learn more at amu.apus.edu/military. Open doors to the future for you and your family with the help of American Military University.
In Orlando, meetings reach another level thanks to a growing list of award-winning restaurants, a world-class convention center, a great hotel community, easy access through the airport, and of course, the weather. Andrew Moyes, VP of Fan Expo HQ, had this to say about Orlando. Often we will bring our entire team to Orlando for the event, and that includes our executive-level team members as well. And we're able to give them a great experience with luxury hotels, special restaurants, all those key things to feed into the proper executive experience. Orlando's easy airport access and close proximity to hotels and transportation make it a top choice for hosting major events. And while you may know Orlando for its attractions, industries like healthcare, aerospace, and advanced manufacturing make it a hub for cutting-edge businesses. Or in the words of Mr. Moyes, Orlando really can be that destination where you can innovate, collaborate, and look to the future. And that's what makes Orlando unbelievably real. Learn more at orlandoforbusiness.com.
Making sense of the news is a full-time job, but it doesn't have to be yours. Not when The Guardian's new podcast, Stateside with Kai and Carter, does it for you. 3 times a week, journalists Kai Wright and Carter Sherman cut right to it, asking what's actually happening and why does it matter. Drawing on The Guardian's reporting, they provide perspectives on everything from sports to fashion and deliver it with clarity and context. Listen to Stateside with Kai and Carter, wherever you get podcasts or watch on YouTube.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed Human.